Today's gathering is particularly significant to me because it brings together people who have great interest and affection for Korea, including activities in the UN Security Council. Today, I'd like to share with you the Republic of Korea's vision as a member of the Security Council for 2024 and 25. As you are well aware, the Security Council holds the primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security in accordance with UN Charter. Despite strong and understandable criticisms of Security Council's ineffectiveness and even powerlessness in the face of significant international security crises like Ukraine, Gaza, and North Korea, the Security Council remains the singular body in the world capable of taking enforcement actions which are legally binding on all UN member states. Since the establishment of the post-World War II international order, the authority and raison d'etre of the Security Council remains essentially the same. It is still irreplaceable. However, the international arena in which the Security Council operates has undergone the considerable transition over time, and this is naturally reflected in the current work of the Security Council. International relations and the geopolitical landscape today are quite different from 30 years ago when I first worked here at the ROK mission, or even from 10 years ago when Korea served as a council member for the second time. Over the last several years, competition between the US and China has intensified everywhere, almost on every front on a global scale, which has decisively transformed the unipolar world order. In a slightly different dimension, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has sharpened the competition and confrontation between the West and non-Western challengers. Concurrently, the global South has significantly enhanced its influence in the United Nations. It's crucial not to skip pages. For example, the African states are leveraging their unity through the African Union, and the small island developing countries have raised their common voices in the midst of increasing competition among the big powers. Meanwhile, Korea's international stature has also significantly improved. Currently, Korea's fiscal contributions to the UN budget rank 9th among the 193 UN member states. Korea's extraordinary success in achieving economic development and political democratization, in tandem with the global popularity of K-pop, K-culture, and recognition of its creative soft power, has positively changed its image and status in the world. Indeed, Korea has emerged as a major powerhouse in the United Nations. Against the backdrop of these rapidly changing international dynamics and Korea's elevating status, we proudly joined the Security Council and now actively participate in daily discussions, negotiations, and decision-making processes on global peace and security issues alongside the other 14 members. The Security Council deals with over 60 regional and thematic agendas. Among the thematic issues, Korea's priorities include peacekeeping and peace building, women, peace and security, climate and security, and cybersecurity. Peacekeeping is a field that Korea has been consistently contributing to since joining the UN in 1991, including the deployment of over 20,000 peacekeepers to global hotspots to date. In peace building, Korea aims to make substantial contributions by addressing the root causes of conflict based on our experience as chair of the Peace Building Commission in 2017. Women, peace and security has been a vital thematic issue in the Security Council for over 20 years, with the understanding that women's human rights and gender equality are central to the maintenance of international peace and security. The impact of the climate change on global peace and security is also undeniable, especially to many developing countries, including Africa, the Pacific Islands, and Central Asia. Climate is not only a cross-cutting issue that affects development, health, and displacement, but a notable security issue that can trigger and exacerbate conflict. Cybersecurity is not yet officially on the Security Council agenda. However, there is a broad consensus nowadays that cyber attacks pose a significant threat to peace and security for all countries at all levels. Furthermore, North Korea is now generating around $1 billion worth of revenues in a single year alone to fund its WMD programs by cyber hacking foreign banks and cryptocurrency exchanges. Despite the lack of a consensus in the Security Council on how to address emerging cybersecurity issues, the Republic of Korea aims to elevate its profile in the Security Council. Among regional issues, we are vigorously participating in discussions on pressing issues like Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, the Sahel, and Haiti. Today, the world is facing the highest number of violent conflicts since the foundation of the UN, with 2 billion people, or 1/4 of humanity, living in conflict-affected areas. As an Asian country, Korea also takes a keen interest in rekindling international attention to Myanmar and alleviating the suffering of people, in particular women and girls in Afghanistan. In addition, we chair the sanctions committees on Sudan and Yemen, in which arms embargoes are the core sanctions measures, but are very challenging now due to the deteriorating situation on the ground. As a member of the Security Council, Korea is also ardently addressing the North Korean issue in close cooperation with the US and Japan. As we all know, North Korea blatantly violates multiple Security Council resolutions through its nuclear and missile development. Over the last several years, it has not only increased its threats through rhetoric and actions, but also changed the very nature of the threats. They have focused more and more on the development of tactical nuclear weapons and the various types of advanced short-range missiles. And they lowered the threshold for the use of tactical nuclear weapons, and they even allowed for preemptive nuclear strike against the Republic of Korea. At the beginning of this year, Kim Jong-un even stated that the Republic of Korea is no longer a fellow nation or a partner for reconciliation or unification, but a foreign country, and in fact North Korea's invariable principal enemy. This clearly exposes his intention to subjugate the Republic of Korea using all available military capabilities, including nuclear weapons. such a redefinition of inter-Korean relationship and the change in the nuclear doctrine are closely interrelated. It seems to me that this represents Kim Jong-un's long-term strategic shift rather than short-term tactical adjustment, probably out of his recognition and fear of the ever-widening national power gap between North and South Korea. Moreover, this shift coincides with the regime's tightening of totalitarian control over its own people, with even the introduction of new laws imposing death penalty for merely watching South Korean dramas. Under these circumstances, we aim to address the North Korean issue in the Security Council in a holistic manner, combining the nuclear and the human rights issues. These issues are two sides of the same coin because all of their illicit and egregious behaviors and policies boil down to just one thing: the survival of its unique political system. Moreover, DPRK nuclear issues and human rights and humanitarian situation are inextricably interlinked as the DPRK diverts national resources to its WMD program at the expense of basic human needs and well-being of North Korean people. Further, the DPRK funds WMD programs partly through direct human rights abuses such as forced labor, domestic and overseas. Due to such direct linkages with international security matters, the DPRK human rights situation has been a standalone Security Council agenda item. Some Security Council members, permanent members, argue repeatedly that North Korea develops nuclear and missile programs and engages in provocative actions due to so-called legitimate security concerns. However, when we examine its nuclear problem alongside its human rights issues simultaneously, it quickly becomes evident that North Korea is not a normal country and their logic of so-called legitimate security concerns falls apart. As a council member, we will exert our efforts to expose the true nature of DPRK problems and ensure that Security Council resolutions on the DPRK are fully respected and implemented. In this regard, we are particularly concerned about the new and very serious challenges stemming from ongoing DPRK-Russia military cooperation. This prolongs the Ukraine war. This contributes to the further advancement of North Korea's nuclear weapons and missiles, and this expands the world market for North Korean weapons. Moreover, since it is a Security Council permanent member that the DPRK engages military cooperation with, there is a risk of rendering Security Council resolutions on DPRK irrelevant and further emboldening DPRK to undertake bolder provocations. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now briefly turn to recent dynamics within the Security Council, which I could not imagine during my past tenures in New York. The term elected 10, or E10, instead of 10 non-permanent members has become increasingly common in recent years, denoting the growing legitimacy and clout of the elected members of the Council as opposed to the 5 non-elected permanent members. The recent changes in the geopolitical realities that I mentioned earlier have made long-standing decision-making practices among the P5 almost impossible in the Security Council, leading to the significantly increased role and visibility of the E10. Indeed, without the successful engagement of the E10, no important decision can now be made in the Security Council. Under these new dynamics, the Republic of Korea will embark on its new journey in the Security Council, collaborating closely with all of its members, including the E10. However, the most important part in the Security Council is, of course, our key and only ally, the United States. In addition, President Yoon Suk-yeol articulated our ongoing efforts for future-oriented development of Korea-Japan relations through his speech commemorating March 1st Independence Movement Day. The importance of cooperation among Korea, US, and Japan, which shares the universal values of freedom, human rights, and the rule of law, cannot be overemphasized. Through its Security Council activities, Korea will endeavor to realize the vision of the Yoon Suk-yeol government to become a global pivotal state. President Yoon is firmly committed to upholding the universal values enshrined in the UN Charter, as well as enhancing partnerships with developing countries, including Africa, as evidenced by the increase in ODA by 40% this year, following a 20% increase last year. We are confident that our work in the Security Council will widen our diplomatic horizon by strengthening partnerships and cooperation with all UN member states. During his recent visit to Korea, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, "Korea represents what the United Nations stands for." And Denis Francis, the president of the current 78th UN General Assembly, also mentioned during his visit to Seoul last year, Korea has the UN in its DNA. Indeed, Korea has a special relationship with the United Nations and also a distinctive characteristic. Korea never in its history has inflicted harm on other countries through colonialism or in any other form, and it developed rapidly after the Second World War with the active engagement of the international community. This makes Korea one of the few advanced countries in the UN that has recent memories of underdevelopment, yet does not have any historical debt or any hidden agenda on most international peace and security issues. This helps us position ourselves on the majority of Security Council agendas in a constructive and straightforward manner based on in the spirit and the principles of the UN Charter. Thank you very much for listening.